This week the Nintendo Switch 2 was unveiled, and with it the price. The console itself is on the higher end of our predictions, but also the games have surprised many, with Mario Kart World costing $80 as a standalone game, while Tears of the Kingdom came out in 2023 as $70, so with Nintendo jumping up to the $80 mark in 2025, what is that going to mean for the next Zelda game a few years away? Well, today I want to discuss the prospect of $100 games, plus also have a discussion about the price of Nintendo Switch 2. Well, if you enjoyed the video, then subscribe for more Zelda content here on Triforce Times. Don't forget you can also follow me on Bluesky, and stick around to the end of the video for comments from the community, and make sure to add your comments onto this video as I want to hear what you think about the price of gaming in 2025. Well, why are we talking about the price of games this week? Well, Nintendo unveiled their new console on Wednesday, April the 2nd, 2025, and a crucial piece of information was missing from their Switch 2 Direct, and that was the price of the console, the games, and the upgrades for Switch 2 editions. Before the Switch 2 Direct, we had been talking about maybe $350, $400, or maybe $450 for the console. And the actual price ended up being on the higher end of that scale, especially in the US, the UK, and Europe. The console is more expensive than we'd hoped, but it's the games that have really caused plenty of feedback to be sent in Nintendo's direction, so the price of Switch 2 games isn't a simple formula either, as there's different prices for different games. So Mario Kart World is $80 if you buy the game standalone, but if you get the Mario Kart World bundle with the Switch 2, then that takes the price down to about $50 for the game. Donkey Kong Bonanza is about $70, and that is a similar price to Tears of the Kingdom when it launched on the Switch 1 back in 2023, so as far as I can remember, Tears of the Kingdom was the only Switch 1 game costing $70, and it feels like we're only just getting used to that price, with games being $60 for many years before. Well, then we've got the Switch 2 Edition games. These are existing Nintendo Switch games with upgrades and potentially more content, and that can explain the differing price. So Breath of the Wild Switch 2 Edition is $70 compared to $60 when it launched on the Switch 1. So for that extra $10, we're going to be getting the upgraded graphics and performance that the Switch 2 is capable of. Tears of the Kingdom is going to cost $80 standalone, similar to Mario Kart World, and you're also going to get upgraded graphics and performance here as well. Nintendo has not yet confirmed the price of the individual upgrade packs if you already own these games, but the estimate is somewhere between $10 and $20. So for example, Mario Party Jamboree Switch 2 Edition and Kirby The Forgotten Land cost $80 standalone if you didn't own the games. However, they're both getting extra content for those games. Well, we don't really have enough information yet to know what the standard price for Switch 2 games will be. It's likely going to be $70 for standard and $80 for some games, and perhaps the $80 cost will be reserved for the biggest Nintendo titles. We're just going to have to keep an eye on Metroid Prime 4 and see how much that game costs. Well, the reaction from fans has been pretty strong. This was very clearly demonstrated during the Treehouse Live this week, when Nintendo staff were playing through many of the games shown on the Switch 2 Direct, and the YouTube chat was full of people saying drop the price over and over and over again. I think Nintendo probably heard that feedback very, very loud and clear, but whether they're going to do anything about it, well, that is another story. So then something else happened. Nothing related to video games, but the impact of this event is going to be felt throughout the world for the next few years. On the very same day as the Nintendo Switch 2 reveal, Donald Trump unveiled his tariffs. So there's a baseline 10% tariff on all countries, with select countries being hit even harder. So looking at Nintendo's pricing, I think they tried to build in some resilience against these tariffs. Nintendo anticipated Trump's tariffs on China by moving their manufacturing to Vietnam and Cambodia. This move unfortunately backfired though, as Trump unveiled a 45% tariff on Vietnam, 34% on China, and 49% on Cambodia. And in a statement shared with GameSpot's Tamor Hussein, Nintendo said pre-orders in the US, which were scheduled to go live on the 9th of April, will now be delayed in order to assess the potential impact of tariffs and the evolving market conditions. So basically, those asking in the Treehouse Live for the price to drop, they're going to be sorely disappointed. Prices are highly likely to go up even more than before. Well, it's been an absolute whirlwind week. We've had highs, we've had lows, but let's bring it back to The Legend of Zelda, and I want to start by looking at the price of Zelda games over the years. So The Legend of Zelda on the Nintendo Entertainment System in 1986 was $49.99, and that was a similar price to A Link to the Past on the Super Nintendo in 1992. Then we had a price increase for Ocarina of Time on the Nintendo 64 in 1998. That was $59.99, and then we went back to $49.99 for the GameCube games, including Wind Waker. That was released in 2002. Similarly, on the Wii, we had Twilight Princess in 2006 at $49.99. Well, then in 2017, the prices started to increase quite dramatically. So Breath of the Wild on the Nintendo Switch in 2017 was $59.99. And then Tears of the Kingdom, also on Nintendo Switch, in 2023 was $69.99. And then in 2025, we've got the Nintendo Switch 2 editions of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, with Breath of the Wild costing $69.99, and Tears of the Kingdom costing an eye-watering $79.99. It's worth noting for those Switch 2 editions of the Zelda games, they are if you don't own the games already. If you do own the games, you can get the upgrades for no additional cost if you are a Nintendo Switch Online subscriber with the expansion pack. Well, it seems like we're on an upward trajectory from 2017. Game prices stayed relatively static from 1986 to about 2017. Games are about $50 for about 30 years. This may contribute to why we feel games are expensive these days. They stayed roughly the same price for so long. Plenty has changed over that time. Technology's changed, it's become even more expensive to make games, plus we all know the other external factors at play. Nintendo's also broken the barrier here with the $80 price tag for Mario Kart World. Now they've done this, I can only wonder what GTA 6 is going to cost. I hope it won't be, but I think it's going to be around the $100 mark. Both Mario Kart World and GTA 6 are going to sell millions and millions of copies. So Mario Kart 8 Deluxe sold 67 million copies so far, and that's just on the Nintendo Switch. Nintendo games don't tend to go down in price. It's still selling today for $55, and that means Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has made roughly $3,685 million, and that is not taking into account rare Nintendo sales. So looking at the price of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe today at $55 and Mario Kart World at $80, that is a 45% increase. So what does all this mean for the price of the next Zelda game? Now, it's probably going to release in 2028 or 2029. So if Mario Kart World is priced at $80 in 2025 and the next Zelda game comes out in a few years' time, we could be looking at a $100 Zelda game on Switch 2. Breath of the Wild was $60 in 2017 and Tears of the Kingdom for Switch 2 is $80 in 2025. That's an increase of 33% in that time, and if prices continue to rise at a similar rate, then $100 could be very likely indeed. We're just going to have to wait and see what the industry does in the next year or so. Given everything that's going on in the world right now, everything is about to go up in price. Nintendo may have been caught in the storm this week, but it's not only Nintendo. PlayStation and Xbox, they too are going to feel the pressures coming in from the market. Well, next in I want to check in on the community comments. So I put the question out to the Triforce Times community, and I got a great response as always. So I asked the community, what do you think about the price of Switch 2 games? So if Tears of the Kingdom for Switch 1 cost $70 and Tears of the Kingdom for Switch 2 cost $80, what is the next Zelda game going to cost? First of all, we've got Nick D, and Nick says, games are my hobby, so I have to do the math. $80 for a game I'm going to spend thousands of hours playing is a pretty good deal. And that is a very good point, Nick. These days we probably play games for a lot longer than we used to, so I can definitely see your argument there for getting value for money. Next up we got Universal One, and they say, ridiculous, anyone paying $80 for an old Zelda game is crazy. I truly hope most people don't pay. Well, thank you Universal, appreciate your comment, and I agree, it is quite a hefty price tag for an older game. However, getting these games running at 1440p, you're going to get a much better frame rate, they're going to look better. I for one am really looking forward going back to Breath of the Wild, but I can see your argument in terms of paying that price for an older Zelda game. Next up we got Zachary Vinson, and they say, I've already got it on Switch, I'll buy the Switch 2 when there's a new 3D Zelda. Well, thank you Zachary for your comment. Yes, we already have these games available on Switch 1. I'm not too sure when the new 3D Zelda game is going to be released. My estimate at the moment is 2028 or 2029, so we've got a few years to wait yet. And personally, I don't think I can wait that long to get a Switch 2, but I can see your point. Next up we got Romulus, and Romulus says, everything has got more expensive in the last few years, so the prices aren't surprising for me. I think they're okay in general, but I understand why people are complaining about it. But in my opinion, the prices aren't unfair. I guess the next 3D Zelda is going to cost $80, and the next top-down Zelda is going to be $70. Thank you Romulus, appreciate your comment. And yes, your pricing for the next 3D Zelda and the next top-down Zelda makes sense compared to today's prices, but I would imagine these games aren't going to release for a few years yet, so hopefully the prices are going to stay static, but we're just going to have to wait and see. Next up we got Cosmosis, and they say, I feel the price for the console is okay, but I feel the games are expensive. Sure, they're still okay compared to $100 games back in the 90s, but there's more gamers these days, so I think the game should be about 90 Australian dollars and no more than 100 Australian dollars. So sure, these prices may or may not change over the course of the Switch 2's lifespan, maybe 8 years. I think that's why Nintendo hardly ever drops the prices on consoles and games. The release value decreases over time. Well, thank you Cosmosis, really appreciate your comment there. It's really interesting to see the currency conversion there to Australian dollars. I didn't realise we are already seeing $100 games in Australia. And I do agree with you, I think the price for the console is pretty fair, but the games, well, they are quite expensive. Next up we got Gusherman X, and they say 80 is too much for a Mario Kart game. They'd probably sell twice as many at $60 US. You know, that I would pay for, physical that is, not just a download key, so the system bundle doesn't really work. Even for Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, I waited until I found them for less than $40 on Marketplace. But since I only really buy systems for Zelda, I'm going to be waiting a few years anyway. Well, thank you Gusherman, really appreciate your comment there. And that was a good deal there, finding Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom on Marketplace. They were much more expensive than that when they released. And I agree with you, I quite like buying physical games as well. It's just something about having that game on the shelf. However, over the last few years I have started converting more to downloadable games. It's just a convenience thing for me. Thank you for your comment. Next up we've got Omega Fox, and they say ridiculous pricing. And definitely see your point there, Omega Fox. Short and to the point. Appreciate your comment. Well, next up we've got Gaming Reinvented, so hello to my good friend CM30. And they say, well, I'd be more worried if the upgrade option wasn't there for Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom on Switch 2. Paying full price for those games with minor improvements would be an oh hell no moment for me, but paying 10 quid or so for an upgrade is fine. As for the inevitable new game at that price, well, it is hard to say. $80 just feels hard to justify for any game, but $70 is probably just about fine if it's the next big 3D Zelda adventure with an all-new world, art style, engine, characters and enemies. But if they start saying everything is that price, including minorly changed remasters, Hyrule Warriors games and other spin-offs, then I'd have to have a serious debate whether that amount would be worth paying. Well, thank you Gaming Reinvented, appreciate your comments there, and yes, I agree with you, I think for those upgrades, if you already own the game, paying 10 quid or so is probably going to be fine. But you do get those upgrades for free with a Nintendo Switch Online account with the expansion pack. So I'm definitely going to be taking advantage of that. I can't wait to jump into Breath of the Wild at 1440p. That's going to be really, really exciting. As for the next Zelda game, I think it's probably going to be 80 or even higher. You know, they've broken that threshold already of 70 with Tears of the Kingdom. Then we've got 70 for Breath of the Wild Upgrade as a standalone game, and 80 for Tears of the Kingdom and Mario Kart World. I can just only imagine what the games are going to cost in a few years, but to be honest, that is a problem for future me to think about. I'm just going to focus on being excited for the Nintendo Switch 2. Next up we got Dark Dragon Medeus, and they say if you own a Switch 1 copy and subscribe to Nintendo Switch Online and the expansion, the graphics and the frame rate updates are free. Also, most Nintendo Switch games are free upgraded altogether. The $10 more is most likely for online features like downloading other players' creations, and the Zelda Notes app, which again is free for Nintendo Switch Online members. $20 has been about standard for DLC expanded stories with Sin with the new Fire Emblem and Xenoblade titles, which is the reason Kirby and Mario Party's $20 upgrade is the Switch 2 exclusive DLC. I think it's all fair game except for Mario Kart World, but $30 discount for the bundle is also reasonable. I think the Switch 2 system price is fair too. Well, thank you, Dark Dragon Medeus. So it seems like you think the pricing is pretty fair, and it is interesting with Mario Kart World being priced at $80 as standalone. If you buy it with the console, it's about $50. You've got the console there at $450, and you've got the bundle there for about $500, so it does bring the price down. I would imagine so many people are going to be buying that bundle with the Switch 2 and Mario Kart World at the beginning, and that is probably Nintendo's tactic, to be honest. It'd be interesting to see if the price moves on Mario Kart World over time. Next up we've got Cullen Muir, and they say unfortunately it looks like we're going to be wishing the Switch 2 only cost $450. Yes, absolutely correct. With the announcements this week of the tariffs, we're just going to have to keep an eye on what happens in the United States. And I've already seen prices in other countries go up as well, so definitely going to be interesting to see. I'm going to be keeping my eye on the pricing announcements in the United States over the coming weeks when Nintendo makes that announcement. Next up we've got Pizza Mech, and they simply say, piracy? Personally, I'm not going to endorse piracy, but I can understand the sentiment behind your comment. Then we got the Real PS Killer, and they say too much. I'm not going to be buying a Nintendo Switch 2 until I see a new 3D Legend of Zelda with real dungeons that's not Breath of the Wild related. Until then, I'm going to be enjoying Metroid Prime 4 on my Nintendo Switch 1. Well, thank you, Real PS Killer. Yes, it certainly is quite expensive at the moment, but I do think it's going to be a few years until a new 3D Zelda gets released. Although hopefully we're going to see a remake of Ocarina of Time in the next few years. My bet is either on 2026 or 2027, so maybe that's going to tempt you to buy the Switch 2. Next up we got Ethereal, and they say, it doesn't bug me, I don't buy enough games per year for it to be an issue. Absolutely right, if you're only buying a couple of games per year, then I guess $80 per game isn't too much. I've unfortunately got this habit of buying quite a lot of the brand new releases, so it can be quite an expensive hobby. But then again, you have to balance that against the fun that you get out of playing video games. And I agree with you, I don't really mind paying the price. Finally, we've got the Geek Apprentice, a fellow Zelda YouTuber, and they say, unbothered, I can't afford it, but games are a luxury. So if the price of living has gone up, then why should I expect this to be any different? You know, they have to earn money too. I'll get it once I can save up, it's not the end of the world. And thank you, the Geek Apprentice. That is a very reasonable point of view, and I definitely appreciate your rationale there. Yes, the cost of living has gone up, and unfortunately that means everything else has gone up too, and video games are no different. I think video games have been protected, but now with the restrictions going on, Vietnam, Cambodia, China, essentially where a lot of the manufacturing takes place, well, that is going to cause ripples throughout the world of video games. But thank you for your comment. Really, really appreciate it. Well, that has definitely been a good discussion today related to will the next Zelda game cost $100 or maybe more? But let me know in the comments what you think. What do you think about the price of the Switch 2 and its games? And also the price of the Switch 2 editions and those upgrades? I would love to hear what you think, and let me know in the comments your predictions. the cost of the next Zelda game. Well, as always, thank you so much for watching or for listening. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below for even more Zelda content here on Triforce Times. Thanks again, I'll see you very soon. Well, this video is brought to you by Triforce Times Backstage. This is available through Patron or YouTube membership, and you're going to get exclusive benefits, plus you'll be able to go above and beyond to support Triforce Times. Free content is core to Triforce Times, and you can continue to enjoy these videos that you know and love. However, if you want to enjoy the benefits like early access, our community Discord, shoutouts in the credits of videos, content polls and exclusive videos, then select the tier that is right for you and join Triforce Times Backstage today. So help me make Triforce Times be even bigger and better, plus you're going to get some added benefits for a small fee every month. Well, thank you for listening, and now it's time to go back to the video.